Truth be told, when I wonder what the future holds, it takes me out of the present. New moon waxing, full moon waning, crescent. Life cycles, teammates or rivals. Soul search, dangerous World War III, the goal's always survival. That's nature, day you're born when you meet your maker. Tears start chasing paper, burning trees or melting glaciers. But truth be told, when I wonder what the future holds, it's impossible to process, so I stay focused on my progress.
Yes, people. It's your boy Hot.
Yes.
And welcome back to the FPL podcast, episode 9. So, get going along now. It's the international break. It's not my favourite part of this season, but, you know, when it's the international break, I get to go away. So that's a positive.
Lucky
How are you, man? How's everyone?
Unfortunately, getting used to this rhythm of ours. 5-1-1, yeah?
Yeah. Feel like Booker T. 5 time. Yeah, for the viewers that don't know, if you're new, whoever gets the most points out of the triple captains hosts the show. So as you've just heard, it's 5-1-1. So that's why I'm in the middle screen right now. Yeah. It's early days, so I'm not gassed by it, but it is nice to get a little lead. So
Why are you like,
I know.
do you mean you're not gassed?
I can't be gassed because it's so easy for it to just all flip around. Yeah. And I could be like 5 and someone's on 3, but they overtake me in the real league for points. So, yeah. It needs to be, points gap needs to be bigger than that for me to get gassed.
Fair enough.
Yeah, man. Like I said, international break. You men are both good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Had this COVID's back in the town, isn't it, now? So I had COVID a few days ago, which is a random thing, but I'm recovering over that now. So yeah, this like you said, Hot. So I hate this period, this 2-week break. It feels so long getting over, but in some ways it's needed to sort of just detox from FPL, bruv, and reevaluate my team. But yeah, all good.
Fair enough. For me personally, I was on 3 green arrows, so I'm like, I just wanted it to keep it moving. But like I said, I get to go away, so it's what it is. Talking about the international break. So because of the international break, we're going to do things a bit different for this episode. We usually would have the game week review, but we decided to break that out into shorts. So for those that are regular viewers, you're going to see a little bit of a different pattern. But also there's changes to come. So I think we'll speak about that a bit later. But yeah. If there's nothing from you lads, maybe we just get into our game week review. Start with you, Guffs.
Yeah. What to say, really? What to say? I mean, you know, when you score 74 points, or 70 in my case, because I got the -4, you look at that points and think it's a good game week, but you know, everyone was hitting 80s and 90s at game week. So for me, it was again another par week, which is becoming very frustrating for me right now. I just can't get going, which is annoying. And it's still early.
Just to clarify, did you actually take a minus?
I did, yeah.
Because when I was looking at stuff, it just looked as though you did 2 free transfers. Didn't look like
No,
a minus.
I had one free change and took -4.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I mean, part of the reason why I did a -4 was that you know, as I said last week, I needed to sort of cover the Arsenal defence, so I brought in Timber. Mm-hmm. But to make that money up, I had to sort of downgrade a defender. So I removed Reinders and I brought in Minter and I shuffled things around. But yeah,
That's
I mean,
look,
it worked out really when you think about it.
Yeah, I think
didn't do nothing.
Yeah, and I think in the end of the day, I think I've now got Timber in my team, so I think he's going to be a strong player, an asset to have in this game. So it was something that was needed, and he got 11 points, so I can't be mad. But for me, you know, the biggest problem I have in my team is my differential players are not firing. Rodgers has got a few assists in the last few game weeks, but I need a big haul from him. When I compare him to other people, like, Kudos got a goal and assist, right, and got the bonus point. So that's how I'm kind of comparing against. And I'm just sort of falling back 6 or 7 points from those people. So yeah, I need my differential to step up now. But yeah, goalkeeper, Pope got me 7 points, which was a nice return. I think Newcastle is a good team to sort of target defensively right now, so I'm glad I got him. Timber's done his stuff for me. Senesi didn't do anything this game week, but Senesi, everyone has him at this point. Villa, letting a late goal against Burnley, which is really frustrating because Cash was on 7 points at that point, and they let a goal in.
Good work.
That was
Cash.
irritating.
Good work.
Bruno Fernandes, he's one of those players I'm looking at right now. Do I still want to keep him? I'm looking at him now, 9 million. I'm thinking there's guys that are less than you doing more than you. So he's someone that I've put on a short leash, and he could be going in the next few weeks. Minte is a kind of a placeholder. Brighton got some decent games, and usually he's involved in a lot of what they do good. So I thought he'd be a nice little thing to have for now and see how he goes. And the front three, speak for themselves. They kind of template front three. I mean, everyone that I can see have got pretty much this front three of Gyökeres, Haaland, and Pedro. Although Pedro, he's on another sort of watch list for me in terms of maybe he could come at my team soon, and I could downgrade to someone else. So yeah, I'm at a point in the game now where I'm looking at it thinking, is now the moment to sort of deviate and try to go with a few more differentials to try and make up the gap on some of the guys above me. Because although the gap isn't too big, I'm not making enough ground to catch people up. So I might have to really go sort of the other way to kind of make that ground and try to kind of get high in the league. So there's a few players that I'm looking at, people like, Isak, is that a way to go? Bring him in early and try and get a jump. But we'll see. I think for this game coming up, I'm going to probably just stick for now and just sort of see how things play out. But I'm already thinking ahead.
What's your thought process about Minte? Because I'm aware you said that he's like a temporary fix at the moment, but I actually think he's got really good underlying numbers. Like, is there a reason why you only want him temporary, or do you think that he's got upcoming fixtures that you don't really like the look of?
Well, I think what it was, I was looking for someone at a cheap price point because I needed to make the money work. And I was looking at the options at that price point, and he was the best option at that price point. And Brighton do have some decent fixtures. The thing about Brighton is that they're such an up and down team. And what I'm looking for is a bit more consistency for my players. So I like him. And last week, actually, he had a pre-assist, which is really frustrating. He took the corner, passed to someone, and someone pressed it in as a goal. So there's a part of me thinking, well, actually, if he's on corners, and maybe there's an opportunity for some assists there. But I do like him as a player. I mean, he always looks busy. He always looks involved in the game. But looking around at that sort of 5.5 to 6.5 bracket, there's a lot of good assets there. Sarr, Reinders and Rice, Saicedo. These are all in a rough sort of price point, and they're doing big things. So, although I like him, although I like him, I think that maybe there are better options to go to at that price point. But we'll see how it goes.
So, what about you, Ark? What did you think about your team?
So I can't be too frustrated. I got another green, which is 2 in a row, which is a lot better than we had for the last couple of weeks before that. That said, I still came away from it thinking to myself, could have got so much more when actually watching. So you'll know some of the thought process around some of the players that I got. So I wasn't expecting the upside that I got from Burn. I just expected a clean sheet, but obviously then crept in with something else, which is good. I was disappointed after watching the Arsenal game because obviously Calafiori hit the post. Again, frustrated because that could have given me those extra points that would have got me to where I needed to be. Nothing against you, Hots, but I'm fed up of seeing you in the hot seat. Much rather be there myself. That said, I was okay with the midfield, although for me, Reindeers is definitely on my watch list. He's gone under the radar for underperforming for too long now. We're talking probably about 5 games where he could have done things, and it's great that, we had Esteve taking a goal off of him and scoring an own goal, etc. But in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't matter. All that matters is the numbers that are on the board, and he hasn't provided any. My big issue is really Richard Rice Pudding. That was my punt, and yeah, it's not happening. So he's resigned to the bin. He will be going. But outside of that, I'm relatively okay with what I've got within the team. I could strengthen the bench a bit more, but it's not time for that now. So it's really a consolidation week for me going forward. There are loads of moves that I'd love to make, but unfortunately I'm not on a wild card, so unable to do that. But overall, comfortable. I'd like to change my keeper, but not enough to take a minus for it. So that's where I currently sit with things. And obviously, my set and forget captain, Haaland, he done his thing for me, so can't fault him there.
You usually say 4 goal. Guess it's onto my team. So it was the midfield for me. Kudos and Semenyo. Semenyo was just repping. He's every week doing what he needs to do, so all I can do is salute him. And Kudos repaid my faith in keeping him. So that's, it was about time he got onto the score sheet. So I'm happy about that. Looking at them two, it's a situation where I'm thinking these two could be off to African Cup of Nations in weeks to come. And if they're keeping up this form, it's going to be disappointing to lose them. But overall, happy with my team. Rayo got a clean sheet. Pedro finally returned, so that was nice. I was trying to get the double clean sheet with Spurs, but that didn't happen. And Gyökeres, he needs to get a goal for me in the next game, because he's becoming an expensive forward that isn't returning. And I know João Pedro didn't return either, but I just could use a different Arsenal asset if he ain't going to be scoring the way he should be. But Eze chipped in with a little assist, so that helped out. But yeah, obviously, it was just one of those weeks where after I did a major move the week before, I didn't want to take minuses and I wanted to just, ease my team into the next game week. And I think I did enough, got enough from my team that I put in. So we're talking about all these statistics and, potential players coming back and how they're returning the points. I guess we should go to you, big man, and get into some stats, if you're good with that.
Yes. Yeah, so this week, what I've been doing is having a look at the form of teams in general, not just individuals. Because what we have seen is we've started the season, many of the teams that we thought were going to do well from pre-season come into the season and done absolutely nothing. For instance, we take Villa into account, even Forest, for instance, and so on. So what that does is it means that the fixture ticker that we've got, that ultimately is based on fixtures from last season, is not necessarily the reality of what we're seeing. So, for instance, it's now time to start looking at what teams should we really be targeting and why should we be targeting them. So what I've done in this week's segment is I've taken us through a few of those, just to understand some of the teams that are open their fertile ground if you've got good attackers, and then also looking at some of the numbers behind why you would do certain things. So without further ado, let's run that rhythm.
No days off, no days off, no days off, no days off.
Did you ever hear the story about Leon? I said Leon, they said Leon. He was from the flats that the jack kids be on. Before the cats they had they cracked a fiend on. They say on the street he a fiend on. When he squeezed ons it's phenomenal. Make a change off a name like a hitman and we'll hitman if it's reasonable. Then you'll have
Do you know what's really funny about the fixture ticker? He hasn't watched a single game. It doesn't see the tactical tweaks, the subtle shifts in tempo, or the teams quietly rewriting green and red and what they really mean. And that's the problem. We keep playing the past, not the present. So tonight, I'm stripping the colour out of the ticker, and I'm replacing it with context. This is the fixture ticker versus fixture style and form. Every week, managers scroll the ticker like scriptures. Bournemouth next, easy fixture. Forest, bit tricky at home. But dig into the data, expected goals, shots on target, big chances conceded, and the story shifts. The ticker says one thing, reality says another. Because the league's rhythm has changed. Some sides have evolved, others have quietly fallen apart. So let's look at who's rewriting the script. So, in reality, teams are redefining the baseline. Take Bournemouth, for example. They're no longer vibes, they're verified. Bournemouth aren't a punchline anymore. Their non-penalty XG is mid-table strong, their shot quality is improving, and they're generating more on-target attempts than people realise. Translation, if you're still benching Bournemouth attackers because last year's ticker said avoid, you're a week behind. The data and the eye test finally align. This is an attack with intent. Another team, the Eagles, soaring high, flat-track bullies in disguise. Palace are quietly among the league's leaders for shots on target. They're not wasteful volume, purposeful, repeatable patterns. Against bottom half defences, that profile matters. They may not explode often, but when the rhythm suits them, they strike very cleanly. Think of them as pragmatic predators. They're efficient, not flamboyant. And the Arsenal. Defensive throttlers. Arsenal have conceded the fewest goals in the league, and the data backs it up. Their XGA, chance prevention, and defensive structure are elite. I rib my host all the time for them always bigging up our defence, but it's true. You don't play Arsenal, you survive them. So treat them as a red fixture for attackers, unless your player's name is backed by penalties or pure class. This is the one team where the fixture colour truly matches reality. And the flip side, the fixtures you now need to target. Nottingham Forest, the fixture you want. Forest's form has fallen off a cliff. They're conceding high quality chances and losing defensive shape late in games. The Ange effect. It's what we do, mate. The numbers are damning. Bottom tier for XG conceded and big chances allowed. This week, that means one thing and one thing only. Chelsea attackers are active starts. If you've been holding your Chelsea midfielder or forward, this is the fixture you were waiting for. Forget the badge, target the trend. Another team, Brentford, the leaky travellers. Brentford's home form masks their away issues. They're conceding at a top 6 rate on the road, and their defensive metrics have slipped completely from being compact last season to chaotic. Your mid-priced forwards versus Brentford away, that's no longer a bench core. That's a green light. And West Ham, the volatility merchants. West Ham have become a study of defence inconsistency. One week they look organised, the next week they leak 2 from basic transitions. The volatility is gold for captaincy. Elite attackers facing them carry real ceiling potential, the kind of fixture where rank swings happen. And now for the nuance, the full screen fixture. Palace versus Bournemouth. It looks green but plays out great. On paper, this fixture screams goals. Both sides are more attacking this season, Palace with one of the league's best shots on target profiles, Bournemouth converting possession into purpose. But the chemistry, well, that tells a completely different story between the two. Across the last 4 league fixtures, they've produced just 5 goals combined. Neither side has scored more than 2. Palace very, very deep and narrow. Bournemouth struggled to break compact lines. It's a stylistic stalemate, a full screen. If you're starting attackers here, you're betting on a new chapter, not the same book. My play, start one, not both. Hedge for the balance. This could easily end up 1-0 either way. If you've learned anything over the past couple of weeks, you know the StatMan loves numbers. But what really matters? Forget the colour codes. There are 4 numbers that truly reshape your decisions. Number 1, XGA, expected goals against. This exposes teams conceding quality, not quantity. Number 2, shots on targets conceded, the hidden consistency metrics. Volume meets precision. Number 3, shots on target reveals who converts control into pressure. And number 4, goals conceded per match. The sanity check tells you who's outperforming or underperforming the model. Overlay these and you build your own fixture ticker, one based on behaviour, not branding. And candidly put, what matchups matter the most in Game Week 8? Forest v Chelsea. Forest are leaky, Chelsea are trending up. Your Chelsea midfield or striker, start them confidently. Palace v Bournemouth. Like I said, the full screen fixture. Limited history of goals, tactical caution on both sides. One attacker max, not a double up. Man City versus Everton, simple equation. City at home is still the safest captaincy, don't overthink Haaland. Burnley versus Leeds. What do we say here? Burnley are still a team to target. Leeds' transitional play suits this matchup. Start your Leeds attackers with confidence. Brighton Newcastle. Both these teams play very open and aggressive football. Avoid defensive assets here. Chase attacking upside. So, how do you turn all of this insight into action? Well, first off, for your buys or your starters, Chelsea attackers versus Forest, Palace attackers selectively versus weaker defences, and Arsenal defenders for elite stability. In terms of selling or benching, Forest defenders, they're now officially a red fixture. Cheap defenders in Palace versus Bournemouth, there's low clean sheet probability, plus low attacking return. In your captaincy heat map, Haaland versus Everton, that's the default ceiling. Second, an Arsenal premium like Saka, solid vice play. Or number 3, a Chelsea talisman versus Forest, a differential captaincy with upside. This isn't a throwback to Jerry Springer, but here's my final thoughts. The fixture ticker was built for predictability, but football isn't predictable, it's evolving. Bournemouth are no longer the underdogs they once were. Palace are efficient, not passive. Forest are now the target. So stop trusting the paper ticker, start trusting behaviour. Because in FPL terms, points aren't won by the teams on your app. They're won by the managers who update faster than the algorithm can. Statman out.
Interesting. I mean, can you expand on that a little bit, Arc?
Yeah, I guess this week I wanted to focus around the things that influence us as FPL managers in terms of the way that we rotate our team and some of the moves that we make. And a big influence on that is the actual fixtures, right? And a lot of the times, people look at the fixture ticker, for instance, and say, oh yeah, I can see a red here or I can see this. But the reality is, that's not a red fixture anymore. For instance, you look at a Nottingham Forest, they're not a red fixture anymore. Actually, they're a fixture that you will plot against and think, I can target that because I've got 2 players here that can do this or do that. And obviously these things are dynamic, right? They change. But I thought it was an important thing because not all of us are on a wildcard strategy now because we've used wildcard chips and so on. So we now do need to start looking ahead at, well, what do the fixtures look like? What runs are there? What patterns can we follow and so on? So yeah, that's where we are really.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting take this week. And, you know, I was looking a little bit at the sort of ticker situation and scanning sort of FPL site and various sites about how the tickers are and how it affects our choices. I mean, so FPL have sort of graded Wolves as having the best sort of games of the next 3, which you could probably agree with. They got Sunderland and Burnley, which are probably 2 of the weaker teams in the league. But what I found interesting, I mean, so Fulham are now graded as a sort of a light red now, which for people that understand how this all works, red's obviously deemed as the toughest fixtures in the league. And it's interesting to sort of see a team like Fulham, who would regard as a sort of middle of the road team, playing away at Craven Cottage is now deemed as one of the hardest games in the league. And as you pointed out earlier on, Ark, I mean, this is dynamic. It does change, and you know, if Fulham start losing some games at home, then that will obviously be downgraded. But I think a lot of this comes down to timing, right? I think Newcastle are a perfect example of that. You know, Newcastle is predominantly being a very tough ground to go to, but you know, we've done very well to win there. But you could also argue that us and Liverpool played them at a good time. You know, they had no, you know, Liverpool didn't play them with no striker. You know, we've played them when they're sort of just trying to integrate Voltamida into the team. You know, that game in December could be a very different game, right? So, you know, it's interesting sort of, I don't know how much you guys pay attention to the ticker, if it really does affect your views in terms of how you approach transfers. I mean, I kind of take it with sort of a grain of salt, really, but I mean, do you use the ticker at all?
If I'm honest, I do like playing for fixtures. It's not my everything, but I do look at the fixtures. And I guess Art made a point earlier when he mentioned Nottingham Forest. Remember, I started with 2 Nottingham Forest defenders because I saw what they did last season and their defence was solid. So I thought, you know what? 2 Forest defenders would make sense right now. 2 wing backs. But then I saw it very quickly that wasn't the formula. I got rid of 1 and then I got rid of all. So, you know, as much as the fixtures do mean something, in reality, it clearly shows you that it's not everything. So, I don't know. I'm still someone that watches fixtures, though.
Well, what I also found interesting, and it can lead into my next point a little bit here. So, the theory going around right now in terms of the title race is that Arsenal's next sort of few games, are going to be fairly easy, and Liverpool's are going to be hard. But you look at the ticker, according to FPL, we're 7th and they're 9th, right? So actually, in terms of their grading, we've got similar sort of graded fixtures. And I think to go a step further, if we kind of project, I know obviously, we don't want to make it about Arsenal, but if we project to their next 10 games, you look at those games and you think, okay, it's a decent set of fixtures there. But if we look at sort of last season's corresponding fixtures, out of those 10 games, okay, Burnley and Sunderland wasn't in the league last year, but the other 8, we drew a lot of those games. So, I guess the point I'm making here is we've got to be careful and mindful, and not just for Arsenal, but it's all good and well saying that, we've got great games and we should win 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, but, football's not played in paper, football's played on a pitch. And yes, Arsenal have got upgrades in their team this year, and you expect them to potentially do better in these games. But the Premier League is a jungle, and on any given day, these teams can step up and cause an upset. We've already seen Burnley almost get a point from Liverpool. So I just thought it was really interesting to sort of highlight Arsenal's fixtures and to sort of see how they map from last year into where we are this season.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I also think, like going back to some of your earlier points as well, for instance, when you take Newcastle into account, I notoriously am always worried when I have Newcastle players when they're playing away, like particularly if it's a long journey. So for instance, they've got Brighton, and it just makes me fear for that fixture because them and long journeys don't really get on well. I remember there was one season where they just couldn't win in London, like no matter what they did. And obviously when you go back to St James's Park, it's a complete different turnaround. And your point about Fulham is a good one. It's testament to what Silver is doing with them. But at the same time, yeah, they're a very tricky fixture. But then Palace have almost replaced them as tricky a customer as them now, for the way that they are. So, and I guess it comes back to the point that has been made a couple of times over the past couple of weeks on the pod that, like, in the Prem, you've got very little respite. There's very few matches that you can look at and you can say, yeah, that's a done deal. Like, we know what's going to happen in that one. There are a few, don't get me wrong, but not many. On any given day, everybody is able to get a punch in the face, as they say.
I was just going to say, agreed, but I would still say, with Fulham away is the difficult game, and Palace, home, it's a tough game as well. Palace and our mugs. But for me, with the squad that Arsenal got now, and the thing is, I agree that they're not easy games. So how it's described shouldn't be as easy games. But I think we need to win our next 4 games. If we are really going for the title, I'm not saying that we can't afford to drop any points, but I'm saying if we go ahead and win those next 4 games, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the rivals that are fighting for that title. And I think it's our best chance to get a bit of a head start, and I think we can. Fulham will be difficult, but I don't see why, with the squad that we currently have, can't go there and get a result. And with Palace, they've finally been defeated, and it'll be a tough game. I think that might even be tougher even us at home, but I'd hope that we can go out and beat them So we get the next 2 games out of the way, as difficult as Burnley may be for some, as you said with Liverpool, and Sunderland have been really good since coming up, and I've been a big fan of them from the start. They were the other team that had 3 players from. I don't want to hear that we lose to Burnley or Sunderland. So the only 2 out of the next 4, the tough games are Fulham and Crystal Palace, and I hope we get through them, and then I expect to come away from that with maximum points. And I'm going to go as far as saying I believe we do. So that's just my opinion. I think we will come away with 12 points, but I know Fulham and Palace will give us a difficult game. But we just got to get through it. It's interesting how they do fixtures, man. It is interesting how they do fixtures. Because like you said, it can change. Go on.
I think that it's got much to do with, I look at teams like Fulham and like Bournemouth, and the way I look at it is who's fit. Because these teams like Bournemouth, they're so reliant on their big players being fit. If they lose a Semenyo, it completely changes the team. And I think that's kind of what it really boils down to. It's not so much sort of, and again, it comes into the point of timing, right? These smaller teams, if they can get their best team on the pitch, they can be.
Bournemouth lost a lot of players though.
Yeah, but they've obviously adjusted and brought new players in. But they're so reliant on 2 or 3 key players in their team, right? Where obviously the bigger teams have got a wealth of talents across their squad.
Okay, so then Arsenal have Fulham next. Have they got their strikers back? Because they've got no strikers then, right? So does that make it any easier again? To my knowledge, they're both out still. Him and Munoz, they're both out.
I don't feel that we ever have an easier game against Fulham. They're one of those teams that notoriously, they're like a dilute version of Liverpool. So they're mid-block and then they're good on the transition, which has notoriously been a problem for us. However, this season, it appears as though we have different tools to unlock that. So obviously we've got Zubi that can come in and do his thing, as well as Eze. So to your point, the squad that we have should give us options against those kind of challenges. That said, nothing's guaranteed, right? So we'll have to see how we get on.
2 things, yeah. London derbies, both games. Hence why I think the first 2 games are the tougher ones than the other 2. But then, in regards to Fulham, if they haven't got any strikers, then we've got to be looking at that game as a must-win. I know they've got midfield like any other team has, but if their main 2 strikers are out, with our defence, my personal opinion is we have to go there, and I'm expecting a surprise to what people are thinking then, because everyone's thinking it might be close, but I'm thinking that we're going to click in this game away to Fulham, and that's my little prediction, and I'm hoping that I'm right. Maybe I won't
every week one of you 2 says this madness.
But we'll see. But international break, so we've got a while to see if they are back, because their strikers could be back, right? I could be wherever I am on holiday and then hearing news that they're both back and they can pick which striker they want to start with, and then that's all out the window. So,
on the point of injuries, in terms of FPL, the key injury right now, one of the key injuries is Palmer's out, right, for Chelsea. And Chelsea have got some decent games coming up. And I thought it was interesting to sort of look at 2 assets that, none of us have, funny enough. But if it's something that people should be looking at, because, I thought...
Yeah, but you've been pining for one of these anyway for a long while. Like, you keep mentioning them every week.
I thought it was probably an important thing to talk about, because, they both got as many goals as you've got as first and foremost, which is crazy.
Don't do that. Avengers will assemble.
Yeah, but you know what?
See, it's coming.
No, but you knew it was coming. But like, I made a point before, like, there's no strikers on more than 3 goals apart from Haaland. So currently, it's not even a shot at Gyökeres. It's a shot at strikers in the Premier League then. So, yeah. There is a few midfielders on 3. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying there is. I'm just making it clear. There's no strikers above 3 except for Haaland, and it alludes to your point earlier that you made about whether it's worth having 3 strikers or having a different formation. But anyway, back to these Chelsea boys.
So, as you can see,
stand down, Lieutenant Hots.
Saseda has more points than Enzo right now in the game.
Oh, is that how you say his name? Because I think I always drop some mad version of his name.
Caicedo?
Yeah. Saseda is probably the right way, to be fair.
Who would you rather have right now in your team?
I always go with the logic. So to me, it's got to be Enzo, right? He can't keep on having such a high XGI and not return more. And I feel what Saseda did was, it was off the cuff. I don't expect him to score worldies like that every week. Neither do I expect every defender to bend over in front of him like Van Dijk did. So I would go with Enzo. Enzo's
the right choice for me. To be honest, I've looked at both of them previously and opted not to do it at the time. Obviously, Palmer's out for longer, so people might be tempted. Don't know what I will do or not when it comes to this. This international break, because I've done a few minuses as it is, I'm just chilling out and just waiting until the international games are out of the way. But Enzo's the one I'd pick.
How do you think he compares to like a Saar? Is that a similar price point?
Well, Enzo?
Caicedo was all day long. Enzo, well, it's Palmer, innit? So Enzo's good now, but in 3 game weeks' time, he might not be once Palmer's back, because he gets pushed back further back in the midfield, right? He can still do what he does, but it changes.
There's one other thing
change as well. Fixtures change as well.
Also,
as you
comes
learn,
down to. Sorry, go ahead, Hots.
I was just going to say, as Guffs learned, when he was asking me about my wildcard, and I was saying it's hard to say what you would do once you've wildcarded because you're always going to want to change your team. He's wildcarded now, and he would change his team. Then he's made a change last week, and he put Mente in, and he's already talking about he's not long term. So when we're talking now, we can only talk for the moment. So Enzo right now would be the one to put in. So if you compare him to Saar, it's a no competition. Spurs' fixtures have changed. Enzo's about to have a good few games. Enzo all day long. But in 4
what Saar are you speaking of? Are you speaking of Saar Palace?
Saar
Palace. Okay, so even with that, it's the same thing. I was thinking of the wrong Saar. I hold my hands up, but I'm stand by what I'm saying. Palace has not got easy run of games, but he is a different Saar, that's for sure. He is solid, but I'd still say Enzo.
So the reason why I will probably go against what I was saying previously when I was asked about Enzo is that there are other players coming into the team that help to platform him. So, for instance, when you look at things and see that Lavia is coming back, Lavia and Caicedo playing together then allows him to be further forward, right? So if he is further forward, you expect him to be more in the shots, more in the places where he can provide assists. He's on set pieces as well, right? So then you start thinking to yourself, all right, and I don't expect to see Cole Palmer until mid-November. And even when he is back, it's going to take him a couple of games for him to get back into form. So in reality, you're looking at it that you might be able to go for an Enzo for a 5 to 6 game run. Let him do his thing and then you get rid of him if you need to.
Yeah, I think Enzo is a very, very dangerous asset right now.
So now that I've caught up, not being funny, but now that I've caught up and I know you're not... I don't know why I thought of the Spurs Saar, but he did get a few goals early on in the season. But I don't know why I thought of him because he's clearly not the better one. But what's your view on that Saar from Palace then? Because as you was comparing them both, because he's come back and he's scoring straight away. So do you think he's going to continue scoring at that rate, regardless of Enzo? Do you think that he's going to continue scoring at that rate?
I think Saar's a very good asset to have. I like him a lot. But whenever I watch Palace play, he always seems to be in dangerous areas of the pitch. I just don't know if Palace had the same kind of XGI as they don't as a Chelsea do. And
Not
to your
over
point,
this run of games, they definitely don't.
Yeah, and to your point, Palace have some tough games coming up. They're playing Arsenal, they're playing Liverpool. No, Liverpool, they're playing Arsenal, they're playing Man City, I think. So you would expect
They'll probably win that.
Maybe, but you would expect sort of some of their assets to sort of come back down to earth a little bit, because right now defensively they're doing very well with some of the defenders, but you would think that maybe they'll kind of level off a little bit over the next few game weeks. I just think Enzo's is a good player to have right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Sarr is one of those players that he's almost talismanic for them, right? And you can't rely on Mateta. Like, I think Mateta he's like first in the league for most big chances missed. Like, he's just one of those players that he's always doing something clumsy. But then Sarr, he does get through. He's that transition threat, and he gets his goals. So he's definitely one. He's definitely one to look at. I think a couple of weeks ago I was talking about looking at him, Rice, and somebody else's cover for Endai, for instance. And I guess over the coming weeks we'll do a bit more on our own personal watch list and so on. But yeah, he's definitely somebody that was on my radar. He was at 6.4. And this is down to you, Hot. So I never used to be bothered about the price of these players and who's going up or who's going down. Now I've become like some market trader. I'm looking at it thinking, so 6.4. Let me do this before he goes up. Blah, blah, blah.
Wolf Wall Street.
Yeah. Well, something like that.
It all counts, man. It all counts.
But no, but because of that, it's made me look at different things, and it's frustrating because you can see moves, and where I had made the wild card a couple of weeks ago, I don't have the free transfers in the bank for me to go and do something, and unfortunately, I'm not looking to get the tables right now. So, yeah, it is what it is.
I'd advise no one to take minuses right now, and if they are, wait until all international games are finished, because you just don't know. And it's if you're not using a wild card and you go and take a -4 or -8, and then the people get injured, that's pain, because I've done that before. So
you know he's saying all of this and he's on -12 secretly.
I guess on that note, we'll go on to the next section.
We're through game week 7, coming into game week 8, so we're nearly a quarter of the way through the season. So it's probably a useful time for us to start looking back at what predictions we made before we got into the season. So without further ado, I guess is to we were looking at a lot of the foreign imports that were coming in to the Premiership, making big headlines. All of us getting excited, worrying about who we should put in our team. Would they be able to do what they did in the previous season in the Premiership? So, interesting fact, of all of the imports that we looked at, only one of them is on track. And even that is only because there's a small sample size in terms of us being able to look at data and what they've done. So, for instance, as you can see on screen at the moment, we've got Cherky, who is on track to hit the projected figures of 3.9 points per game. And that's largely because the 2 games that he's played, he's returned something. One of the biggest underperformers against what they came in at is Verts. I would imagine that's no surprise to anybody. It's an interesting thing with Verts. He's clearly getting in areas and he's making chances and so on. And some of them he's been a bit unlucky in that he hasn't had people finishing for him. And there have been a few things that he has fluffed himself. But what it has done is realistically, he's on 13 points over the last 7 games. And for his price point, it's probably not good enough. And as you can see, if he was to continue on the vein that he is at the moment, he'd be 31 points down on what we all assumed that he would be getting for the season. And if we look, I remember that when we started the season, I got a lot of pelters from Chelsea fans because I said Gittins wasn't going to do very well and projected him to get about 2.3 across the season. And as we've seen, he's got worse. He's got 1 as a points per game ratio, which is clearly not good enough. And there's a lot of caveats to all of that. For instance, when you take into account that he rarely starts, and also he only gets a few minutes when he gets on. But ultimately, this was part of the reason why I said that, yes, although he's a relatively big transfer signing that is coming in for them as one of their new wingers and so on, because of the way that Chelsea play, and you never knowing whether they're really plumping behind one person in particular, he was always going to be he's not getting into my team, even though I love the player individually. With Frimpong, we've got a similar situation as well. Sorry, you was going to say something, Guffs.
No, what do you think about Frimpong? Do you think that, because he's fit now, right? He's been fit for a few weeks, but clearly there's a reason or reluctance from Slot to just put him in there as his number one fullback. I mean, how long do you think this experiment of Szoboszlai is going to go on for? Do you think this is going to be a theme, or do you think Frimpong is going to come in and play? Because I'm looking from an FPL standpoint, what kind of asset he is.
I think the problem that you've got is sometimes you will do something to platform the team as Slot did, i.e. to put Szoboszlai there because he had a couple of injuries. The issue is Szoboszlai's gone there and he's actually performed well. And he's performing better than the alternatives there, for instance, at the moment. So also the other thing that I worry about with Frimpong is that he seemed to bring Bradley in and so on over the past couple of games as well. So it's not necessarily where I thought previously that Frimpong would come in and actually he's their big game player, so you'll start him. It doesn't feel as though that's the case at the moment. It feels like we're going to have to endure another couple of weeks to see who really has put their name on that spot. So, for instance, he was one of my players that I said he could be one to watch, especially when it's African Cup of Nations and Salah is gone. Because ultimately, I think he will play higher up. Slot keeps alluding to this as well. Problem is it's a long wait before then. So he's an avoid for me. I wouldn't go out for him at the moment. And I think he'll show his worth at different points in the season. But Liverpool in general around that fullback area are going through all sorts of transition at the moment. So for me, definitely an avoid.
Ego's a funny one because since, Andrew's come in, I've noticed that Wood's minutes has kind of gone down a bit, right? He's being sub very early now. Igor seems to be more prominent in the team. And I wonder if he might be a little kind of a dark horse where he might start games going forward. I don't know. So he's someone to keep an eye on, I think, over the next sort of 3 or 4 game weeks.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I think actually as a player, he's very good. His touches and some of the things that you see, when you watch playing, you can just be like, yeah, there's something there. He's got that. And we'll see how it is. I know I made a bold prediction about Wood moving to West Ham. I don't think that will happen, but I do believe what you said about the fact that Wood is going to be more of a rotation issue. But he's clearly something has happened where he's not happy at the moment. He just doesn't look like he's enjoying his football. But then again, that might just be his face. Who knows?
Well, it's interesting to see, I guess, who is doing well right now, right? Over the first 7 games. So, I mean, I guess it comes to no surprise to everyone watching this that Semenyo is, doing well, right? He's clearly been amazing so far this season. I mean, yeah, maybe you can sort of speak to these stats and what they actually mean.
Yeah, I think so. What we have is their expected goals involvement, whether that be a goal or an assist. And then obviously the AGI is for what's actually happened. What you can see with Semenyo is that he's crazily overperforming over what was expected. So if he's 4.77, he's got 9. I think that works out to 6 goals and 3 assists that he's got. The issue with him is that he's just been extremely clinical this year. So I think in terms of the amount of shots on targets he's had, he's only had 7 and he scored 6. So is he able to sustain that going forwards? Probably not. If he did, he'll have a Haaland season himself. And I'm sure Bournemouth will be very happy with it. But he's never going to be able to sustain that level of being clinical. I think there was a year that Arsenal, we were like that, where we weren't having a tremendous amount of shots, but everything we was doing, we were eating. But it's not sustainable. You can't do that for an entire season. And I don't think he can do that out of Bournemouth. There will be moments where they drop. But yeah, he's definitely making good on the underlying data that he's had over the past 2 seasons. So effectively, this season feels like an Mbeumo season for him. And then Mbeumo's obviously gone down from where he was last season.
I quite like Voltemader as an asset. I think that he suits the way Newcastle play. He's on penalties. And as I alluded
But
to
is he on
before,
penalties?
Newcastle,
Based on, well, you never know, because Gordon, when he took the penalty the other day, it was because Gordon was on the pitch, right? Although he took it with such a plug, maybe Gordon will never be back on pens.
he banged it to corner.
Yeah, it was very good. But as you can see, like what you've got with some of the overachievers as well. For instance, I went with Richard because at the time, you could see that he's the only attacking threat for Spuds because they didn't have another number 9. But in reality, when you look at it and you say that he's overperforming against his XGI is very low. In reality for what it is. And so, as I've said, he's definitely out of my team this week.
I think out of the overachievers, Anthony's one that I have looked at early. When he scored, I was like, you're actually a good price. And, I've got a feeling that you can keep it up for a bit. And I didn't go with my gut. And he has kept it up. And now it's at a point, as you said, where, sort of a quarter of the way through the season. And it's like, can he keep it up? And I think he will keep being involved in stuff because he seems to be very involved in their attack. But will they score many goals in general? So I've still got keeping an eye on him, but I'm not sure if I think that when we look now at the first 7 to 8 games, what will happen in the next? Because as we said, it changes around. But he's been one of the people on this board that I'm like, yeah, he's really impressed me because I never would have assumed that he would do as much as he's done.
I guess the other end of the scale is who's been doing pretty poorly so far, right? And Bruno, who's one of my assets, is up there at the top, of course. I think Gordon is an interesting one. I think Gordon, I can see him picking up. I think a lot of that was probably down to the fact that he got a red card as well. Newcastle haven't had a striker, so I think now they've got Voltemader, and they've obviously got Wiesa coming back as well. I expect him to pick up. Yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts?
It's worrying for me because I look at it and I can see many assets that I've got are in and around there, or people that I have had. So the scenarios that I had with Fernandes, the Mbeumo, like that's frustrating. Is because he's so heavily involved in shots, he's just not converting at the moment, and it feels as though he's an underperformer that is ready to pop. So I'll still be going with him, but with the others, it's quite interesting. So Jeremy at Palace. Never looked at him previously, and then obviously when we looked into the data and so on, I'm like, okay, he looks like he could possibly be one to watch, especially now that they don't really have that much creative hubs anymore. But there are ones that you just laugh at when you see. I think recently, even over this international break, Pedro missed like some horrendous shot, and you kind of see it, right? Like he's taking the shots, but he doesn't convert. Like you can't bet your house on him at all. But the usual suspects are there. We spoke about Mateta a bit. You can see again with his XGI, it's very high because he's always shooting. But his conversion is not where it needs to be. And then clearly you've got Bruno that is standing out, and that's largely because of the penalty misses.
Well, what I would say is that I really believe that these things change throughout the season. So, we could easily be reviewing this in another 7 games time and Mateta's got 5 goals and it can change so easily in the Prem. But when you're looking at Bruno who's missed 2 penalties. A lot of people he's considered as a very important player in the FPL, so people turn to him for guaranteed points, especially as a penalty taker. Him missing, it puts a big question on will he continue to take pens with someone like Mboma who can take pens.
But Mboma also missed in their cup game as well, right?
Yeah, but he hasn't missed as much as Bruno. But yeah, it still counts. But I guess when I'm looking at Bruno, they've got big games coming up. So
if you could pick a team right now, like a free hit right now or a wild card, in terms of Arsenal assets, would you go for 2 defensive ones or 2 attacking ones?
it depends, fam. So I think if I was giving people advice, then it would be a case of I'd say potentially go for 2 defensive ones. But because you're asking me what would I do, I have to speak honestly. So I'll just say it again. If I'm advising the viewers, I'd say I'd probably go 2 at the back for Arsenal currently. However, Saka is back and it looks like he could continue to get himself into that form that he has been before. So the question mark is, do you want to have Gyökeres still? And currently, I'd probably say, because of the games we have got, go 2 at the back. But for me, I'm a big believer in Gyökeres. So if you're going to have a Saka or an Eze in your midfield, which I currently have 1, I'm not going to drop Gyökeres currently. I'm going to give him a few more games before I do that. So the answer is I'm going to continue to have 2. But if it was a wild card, I potentially, would go 2 at the back just because of the fixtures and stuff. But I think Gyökeres will come good. So after having him for this long, I don't want to get rid of him and then he starts to score. But if he doesn't score for the next couple, I'm not going to care about all of that. Because to be honest, usually I'm very ruthless. But for some reason, because I've seen what he can do and I have belief in him, I don't want to let him go.
It's because you're an Avenger when it comes to
soft spot for Gyökeres.
You know what it was? I did a lot of intense reviewing of his game internationally, Champions League, and for Sporting. And what I'm seeing of him now is shocking to me because I felt like his touches and the things that he does for us, he wasn't doing for them. He looks so much more comfortable on the ball. So I don't know what it is, but I just think he's going to click at some point. And if everyone's taking him out and I've still got him and he clicks, I'm going to have him. So I'm trying to hold him still. But he's only got a few more games. If he doesn't do something in the next 3 games, he's going to have to go because I can't be having no sentimental value for anyone. I'm about points. And it could just be a case that when I watch the next game, if he doesn't score against Fulham, I think that's it. If I see him do something that pisses me off, then I'm going to say that's it. Because it's like 8 game weeks now. So it'll be, if he doesn't score, it'll be 3 and 8. That's less than half. He'll probably be gone. But
my thing with him is
hopefully he scores.
Things can change, right? Arsenal can come into the game and be a much smooth operation. But when I watch, he's going to score goals for us, but he doesn't look like he's going to get a hat trick. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't look like that's going to happen for him, just in terms of the way we're playing and how he's been fed. And given the fact that obviously the game obviously values goals for midfielders more than it does for attackers, I'm kind of looking at it thinking, actually, for him to really make sense of me, he needs to really be licking off. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Arsenal assets are really important.
How I look at it, and you're right, Arsenal assets are really important, and hence I said if I was giving advice to the viewers, I'd say go 2 at the back for safety, because if our defence, that's our strongest, it is the strongest in the leagues. But I just believe in what I've seen. So it's not like I've just got some random theory of he's a good striker, he's got a good first touch, he's got this, he's got that. I've seen it in my very eyes. And it's not just been against poor quality teams. So the fact that he hasn't shown that recently or in an Arsenal shirt, it's mad. I know that it's like Eze as well. I've got Eze in my team, and it'd be so easy because I've got money in the bank to just swap him for Saka. But it's like, why swap him for Saka? I know, and forget Gyökeres for a minute. Eze's played in the Prem, so no one can tell me he hasn't done it in the Prem because he's looked good in the Prem. So how he's playing at the moment, missing sitters and stuff like that, I'm just like, I know he's gonna come good. And the same way I feel about him is the same way I feel about Gyökeres. So the fact that some people are gonna have Saka, I'll have Eze. Some people get rid of Gyökeres and I'll have him. I'm just hoping it works out. But if it starts to be an issue for me, you know what I'm on. So I'm keeping Eze.
Do you feel that Eze is missing sitters? I don't feel they've been sitters. I think they've been half chances.
He missed one sitter.
I think because he is forceful and he's willing to take the shot, I think it's like provocative to us as a crowd looking, right? Because we haven't really had that recently. So it looks like he should have scored.
The last shot he took when Gyökeres was in the box and it came out to him, I was thinking assist and goal. All the way there. And then he just skied it. I'm like, so I'm not looking at Eze. Before he gets that ball, I'm thinking back of the net, it's Eze. So that when I say missing a sitter, if it was, I don't know, someone else, I might have thought differently, but it's Eze. You're going to bury that, bro. But I'm not mad at him for it. I just look at it. It's the same way that when I see the ball come over and then Gyökeres controls it and it's like, that's not what I saw, bro. And I've seen it multiple times. You've actually got a good touch. Even though I've still seen him do good things and I personally think he's been okay for us, it's just like, that's not what I saw. And the same with Eze. As soon as that ball came to him, I thought I was already celebrating almost. But then he missed. I was like, what? That's not the Eze I know either. So that's what gives me the confidence that I know, you know, you've been at a new club, 7 games in. Let me not be too harsh with my own players that I believe in. But for Gyökeres more than Eze, there's a stopwatch where I can't wait for game week 12 for you to now click in the Arsenal shirt. If you don't click before that, you can click in someone else's team. It won't be mine. But yeah, let's move away from that unless there's any more questions regarding that.
No, not really. From me, when for instance, in relation to that question of would you go with 2 Arsenal at the back? For me, the only issue is more about who's nailed for Arsenal. That's the problem. So I guess thought process for me would probably be take the goalkeeper and 1 defender as opposed to 2 defenders. Because once you've got Blanco come back properly, and you have others, we've seen that Arteta is prepared to rotate now, whereas he wouldn't have done that before. So everybody's not necessarily nailed for 90 minutes as well. So it just depends on how you go. So I think generally with all Arsenal assets, it's just to have a look at, okay, who's likely to be most nailed? Who's going to play the majority of games? So now that we've got the Odegaard injury, it probably is going to help Eze stay on the pitch for longer than he may have done previously, right? We know that with Saka back, there's no Noni, right? So he doesn't really have a backup, etc. I wouldn't expect him to start rotating with Martinelli too often. So you kind of need to look at those things. And it's the reason why most people have still got Gyökeres, right? There is no alternative to him at the moment. So you assume with Arsenal's attacking ability that he will eventually get those goals. But to Guff's point, who knows whether those are going to be a hat-trick or a brace or it's just the 1 goal. But at the moment, you just need a goal or assist.
Am I the only one of 3 Arsenal players in the team currently?
No, I do too.
I think so. I've got 2.
Okay, cool. So what I would say, it's Arsenal's defence is great, but we could still potentially concede at some point. And, you know, a lot of people are going to be doubling up and stuff like that. So as much as it is the way I would, if I was offering advice, it's still, you know, you've made a good point in the sense that Odegaard is out. So Eze should be playing. Nuni's out. Saka should be playing. Gyökeres will be playing. And, you know, you've got Timber in your team, Guffs. Bad boy. I don't think he should be rotated currently, and maybe it'd be in different cups, but you just don't know. And you got Cali, and he should be our starter. But we got Skelly there, so we just don't know. That's why I put Raya. I think if you ask me the question about would I prefer to have Timber over Raya, in reality I'll be like yes, but on paper I just know Raya plays. But he can't get an assist or a goal. He can get an assist, but he can't get a goal. So
I guess part of the reason I'm asking the question is, if you look at the top scorers in the game currently, 3 of the top 10 scorers are Arsenal defenders in the whole entire game. Calafiori, Timber, and Gabriel all sit in the top 10 highest scorers in the game. So,
So I'll ask you a different question then. Do you think that will continue to be the case at the end of the season, that 3 Arsenal defenders will be the top 10 scorers in FPL?
I think they're going to be up there. I don't see why not. I think we've seen enough of this DEFCON that clearly it's making an impact on the game and it's leveling the playing field. Years gone by, you wouldn't expect to see defenders so high up in the point scoring, but I think this DEFCON situation has all those things, which is undeniable.
But pertinently, for the Arsenal defenders, it hasn't been DEFCON points that have taken them up there. It's actually been attacking returns.
No, yeah,
in
but
addition to clean sheets.
And you're absolutely right, because Calafiori hasn't got much DEFCON points, so you've got a good point there. But there has been a shift in terms of the way our fullbacks in particular attack, right? And a game against West Ham was an indicator for me in terms of Timber taking up positions on the pitch that he wouldn't have done a year ago. So there has been a little bit of a switch. But I do agree with you, Hearts. I think that, once Benny Blanco comes into full fitness, there will be some rotation. Potentially when we're playing some really tough European games away from home.
And we're not going to be able to just keep playing cheats all the time.
He might play Timber in the European game and play Blanco in the league game. So I think that's going to happen. And I don't expect Calafiori just to play the whole entire season. Skelly will get some games. But I think for this period here, I think Arteta probably isn't going to rock the boat, given that the defence is doing so well right now and everyone's playing well. I'll be surprised if he changes much defensively for this period. But we'll see,
We should probably just look at the big game predictions now, because that's relevant. And in my opinion, it's going to be very interesting, because I really do think people's performances are going to change, because I do believe it's about fixtures too. And some people stand up against the bigger clubs. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to look at the big game for the next game week right now.
Liverpool, Man United. It's a big game. It's a big game. I mean, they're all big games, but this is for different reasons. They both need to win this game, right? Obviously, for Liverpool, they're chasing the repeat, and they've lost 3 in a bounce. And it's one of those games which can go both ways, right? If they win and win well, then it could ignite their season. There's a part of me that feels like this could be the game where potentially Isak and Wirtz get off the mark and suddenly everyone's feeling good again. So there is that sort of small part of me that feels like the game's come at a good time for them. They've had the international break, they've had a bit of a bad time, but this is the kind of game that kind of galvanises the crowd. They can kind of get going again. So as an Arsenal fan, I'm slightly wary of what this game could eventually kind of uncover. Man United haven't been great in the road so far this season. Defensively, they've been quite laboured. They haven't got particularly quick centre-backs. And Liverpool thrive with speed. So, yes, Man United, did well there last year. I think they got a draw there, 0-0. Was it last year they got the draw 0-0? But they've done decent there the last few years. But I think on this occasion, I can see Liverpool absolutely, I won't say batter them, but I can see maybe like a 3-1, 4-1 scenario for Liverpool this one.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think Liverpool will the fans will get behind them. I think they'll be energised. I think they'll look to really overrun Man United, and if Man United can compete them. So I'm going for like a 3-4-1 Liverpool win.
Okay, that's interesting. What about you, Ark? What's your?
It's at Clansfield, right? So for me, it's nothing but a poor win. Like I've seen Isak has already come out saying that he's ready to play 90 minutes, etc., etc. Like they need to win. Unfortunately for United, unless it becomes a basketball match, they're not taking anything out of this. And even if it becomes a basketball match, I'm not sure they've got enough to be able to win. And it probably might. It's one of those games, as you've alluded to already. Like big games, big players step up. It's duty bound for the Egyptian king to become the king again. Like for us to be like, oh yeah, Salah, forgot about him. That 14.4 million players, he now scored a brace, and now everybody wants to buy him again. But no, I think it's set for one of them to either create their revival or name their arrival. So it's either going to be Isak scores the winner, or Salah's going to make sure that everybody remembers his name. I can't see United doing anything.
Or who?
Or Verts.
Who?
We don't call him that around here. We call him Conor Gallagher. That's what we call him.
I don't know. It makes sense to agree with you both. I feel like I'm gonna go against you slightly.
Yeah, you have to. I know it makes your skin crawl when we're all in unison, right?
I think like United have a point to prove. Nothing's clicked for them. Not saying I rate them or anything like that, so I'm not gonna get carried away with what I'm saying here. But I just feel like it's not gonna be as easy as everyone thinks it's gonna be, and I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's a game where we're going to actually see how good Liverpool really are. So yes, he's ready to play 90 minutes, and Salah might bounce back, or Verts might start to show his, value for money. But United equally could just get at their defence. They have got attacking capabilities. Who knows? Sesko might end up having up Van Dijk. He's tall, he's physical.
Tesco, yeah?
Yeah. It's a possibility. They're not been great defensively. I've kept on saying that. So I don't see why he couldn't cause a little bit of issues for them if he's getting fed right. And then Mboma,
I don't even want to be here next week if Sesko scores and Gyökeres doesn't,
Well, he still won't be more than 3 unless he scores a brace at least. So,
Yeah, but
I've already gone out. Yeah, but I've already gone out and said that I think Gyökeres scores against Fulham. So, I'll be surprised if I'm wrong. But that, it's recorded.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be recorded, and it will be like at least 4 and 8. I've said it.
The man
live.
said, "I'll be surprised if I'm wrong." Okay.
4 and 8 minimum. That's if he only gets 1 goal next week. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But yeah.
I just don't see how United don't get slapped in this game. I just don't see how they can contain Liverpool. And I know Liverpool haven't been great so far this season, but I think although they've won 5 of their 7 games, they haven't played well this season so far, and that pattern can't continue. They're gonna play well at some stage. And I just feel that this is the game. This is the kind of game that, from a Liverpool point of view, you're looking for. Okay, this is the game to kind of get us going. It's a derby. I just.
So
think
United can't play well in this game then.
I just think if Liverpool play well, then Man United can't contain them. That's my thing. Man United might come with good intentions, but I think Liverpool are a far better team than them. If they play to anywhere near their capability, Man United will get slapped. That's just my opinion.
So let's just confirm.
3-2 bin dippers.
Say that again?
3-2 to the bin dippers. And then Mboma scores 2.
And who?
I say 3 or 4-1.
That's what you said. So I'm going to say it's not going to be a game like that, like you guys think. I think it'll be more like a 2-1, maybe. 2-1 Liverpool.
I had a 1-goal margin.
Yeah, I don't see it being 3-1, 4-1 like Guffs is saying. 3-2 potentially, I could work with that. But like, I don't even think it's gonna be like high scoring like that. I think it's gonna be a tense game. I think both teams don't want to lose, and I think United, if they can prove a point and they can actually go and win a game, it's against Liverpool. So if they go out and try their best and they get a draw, then one, that'll work for them. They drew with Liverpool. It'll be a good point for them, to be fair. Liverpool drop more points, which would be good for any Arsenal fan and for the league as a whole. And yeah, I am maybe speaking from a wishful point of view, but I actually believe it's not going to be as easy as everyone's talking. So I'm going to say 2-1 at the most, or like you said, 3-2. By 1 point. 1 goal. I don't see it being a big gap. Potentially a draw is what I want to say. But
you want a Desmond. Fair enough.
Do you know what I mean? I don't even want a 2-2. I prefer a low scoring because I don't have no Liverpool players or United players. So.
We need Mbeumo to score.
Well, you do. I don't. As much as I said cool about a 5-1-1, I need to be sitting here again next week. Do you know what I mean? So I need my players to perform. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who was right.
This guy on my right, he's having a whale of a time on mute, just trying to be a ventriloquist dummy.
Nothings.
Yeah.
So as I said earlier in this episode, it's the international break, so we're going to do things a bit different going forward. And in this particular episode, we didn't cover all of the game week reviews that we would usually, because those shorts are out now on YouTube. And from this Sunday coming, we're going to be doing a live stream. So you're going to now start to see live streams every Sunday, and then the episode by Friday as usual. But we'll talk about that a bit more towards the end of the show. But now let's talk about captain's choices. Like, starting a few Guffs. Who's your captain for this week? What are you thinking?
This is an interesting week for me. It's a week that I'm thinking about picking a differential one. Obviously Haaland is the safe pick. He's at home. They're generally good at home. But Everton are a stubborn team. They're not a team that you would expect to get hammered. I think they can potentially slow Man City and Haaland down. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores. But if they can hold on to maybe 1 goal, it could be worth going with someone else who maybe has more of an upside for this game week. So I'm looking at potentially Eze this game week. And I'm going with Eze potentially because, we spoke earlier in the show about he's had the chances, right? He's had some shots, in the games against Man City, Newcastle, obviously the one he missed against West Ham. So he's getting the opportunities, getting in the right areas. And I just think that maybe this could be the game where it just sort of clicks for him. And again, I always like to go for midfielders because obviously their goals just mean more than attackers, right? He's been quite good in getting assists and taking over with assists. So if he can add a goal to that and get a goal and assist potentially, then who knows? We could get a nice little tally. So he's someone that I'm seriously looking at in terms of putting as my captain this week. Gyökeres was another one looking at as well. But again, I just don't trust that we're playing to him at the moment in time. It's going to click, but I don't know if it's going to click quite yet. So I think as it stands, I'm probably like 60-70% in the Eze camp for my captain. I would love to have Saka right now. because if I had Saka, then I would probably be picking him, but I don't. So yeah, that's kind of where my head's at right now. But there's lots of people you can pick this week. I think this will be an interesting week because there are maybe like 6 or 7 guys that you could pick for captain. So I think this could be a week where there could be some great volatility in leagues, where someone will have an Isak, and someone will have a Salah, someone will have a Haaland, and someone will have a Saka, someone will have a Bowen, and one of them is going to lick off. And depending on who it is, you're going to see big falls and climbers. So hopefully it goes my way. That's where I'm at.
Same as Haaland set and forget. Did say 3 weeks in a row. I don't expect that every week he will haul as big time as he has done. But due to his expected ownership and so on, and the likely moves of people, like it will cancel out if he doesn't haul. And if he does, I'll still take the benefit. And I need to rely on the others within my team for that. I don't have the benefit of having any of the differentials that I would look at the moment. But I do think there is a case for Isak. I do think there's a case for Bowen as well. The Saka scenario is an interesting one. The fixture, depending on what happens, for instance, you have alluded to it, Hots, that Fulham don't have any strikers. So then it really just comes down to midfield v midfield and what we think is possible. I think with the addition of Gyökeres, it means that we're less likely to see double ups on Saka, as well as the platforming that Timber is doing as well. So it does open up the realms for if he is a better captain pick or he's a better asset for you to have. I think we even alluded to this in the first game week or second game week. We were talking about the fact that actually the way that he is playing and what he wants to do, he's clearly trying to take on the mantle of being the talisman. He really is trying to go for it. You can see that he's very focused, as he was last year before the injury. So yeah, he could also be a good differential pick for anyone out there that has got him, which would then bridge into the questioning around, is it worth doing that extra 0.8 million on Saka and not having Gyökeres? Although you would assume that if Saka and Eze are doing well, Gyökeres will do well. So it's quite a conundrum. And then as for Salah, it's the Egyptian king, right? Every time you bet against him, he generally comes up smelling of roses. And I don't actually think he's been playing that bad this season. I just think that Liverpool have got conversion issues.
I'm Haaland. I think there's no point going against him because as it stands this game week, I'm not sure how happy I am with my team overall. I'd like to make a few additions and I don't know if I will. So therefore, I'm going to just play it safe and go with the most captain player this game week, which will be Haaland. However, as much as not everyone believes, I think Gyökeres will get that first goal to make it like 4-8. But the problem is, one goal ain't enough. And I don't see Fulham as a team that was going to get battered. I still think we should go out there and just beat them comfortably, like I said, especially if they've got no strikers. But I don't think it will just come from one source. So Haaland's a safe bet for me and I'm going to captain Haaland. But I do believe that there's going to be Gyökeres' goal. But I don't think I'm brave enough to do it on what's been happening recently. As for what Guffs was saying, it'll be nice for Eze to get on the score sheet. I've got him. But I think that he'll also be looking for Gyökeres. And I think that the team are aware of what is being said in the papers and all over the tabloids and media. So I think that, as much as Saka took that penalty in the last game on his 200th appearance or whatever, I think that if there's another penalty, it will be Gyökeres that takes it as well. I really believe that. Now, I could be wrong. Saka might think that like that. But I do think that it's a possibility that, that he's going to want his fellow teammate to get a goal if he hasn't got one already in open play. So I think it's a case of, if he's got a goal already, Saka won't give up that penalty. But if he hasn't, Saka might. And that's just how I feel. But it doesn't budge my choice. I think I'm with Arc. Play it safe, go with Haaland. But there is going to be someone who scores more points than Haaland in this game week. That's for sure, in my opinion. Whether it's Eze or not, it's up to Guffs to find out.
Question though.
Go on.
I know that none of you guys have highlighted him, but surely Pedro is an outside chance for a captain's choice. I understand that he hasn't got the conversion over the past couple of weeks, but bearing in mind that the international break, he's actually had a break. Is he not one that we should be looking at as he's a potential, especially for those out there that have him? I don't have the template front three, but you two do. And it's interesting that none of you considered them.
So I'll respond to that first, yeah? Sorry, Guffs. But I'll respond to that first. Because as I was the one that pointed out, yeah, thank you. But yeah, as I was the one that mentioned early that, no, Pedro won't be travelling the Brazil squad, it did cross my mind. But because I just look at it as I want to play safe with Haaland, he's the same as Gyökeres to me. So if he scores, I get the goal. If Gyökeres scores, I get the goal. If Guffs is right, I get a couple of assists or a goal. So I'm getting those goals, knowing that Haaland will probably get one goal anyway. So I have contemplated that too, but I just didn't mention it because I've got no intention of doing it. And the only intention I have is Haaland. But if I had to give an alternative, I would go over Gyökeres over Pedro. Only because I think he's due. And even if people think, well, Pedro is due, I just believe that Gyökeres must be frustrated right now. And I can see sometimes when you're frustrated, you make mistakes. But he seems to still do certain things in the situation. It's like I can see Gyökeres being through on goal and passing it still, even though he needs a goal. So I think he, as much as you don't think that, but I'm saying I can still see that because there's for times when he's passed. He wants to go, don't get twisted. And if he gets himself into a position where he can shoot, he will shoot. But if someone's in a better space and it just makes sense to pass, I can see him passing. And he's done that in this season already. So like, I just think it's a point where Pedro, look, Nottingham Forest are gonna give Chelsea a harder game than people think too. I don't think Chelsea's just gonna go and smash Nottingham Forest, even though they've got Ange as a manager. I think it'll be a more difficult game than people think, but they will score goals in that game. Pedro will probably get on the score sheet too, but I wouldn't go as far as saying I'll captain him, but I could be wrong by that. It's a very good point to bring up.
I just think that it takes a real brave FPL player to captain Pedro. I mean, you are literally like, that's hope upon hope, right? Because all the data for the last 3 or 4 game weeks, where he's not even had the shots on goal, to just now sort of, to quote, Luther King, the dream, to just think he's going to go and just lick off a hat trick. And he might do, don't get me wrong, but it just seems that it's a very, very big move to put him as captain.
That's a bit weird, though, what you're saying to me. So,
well, Pedro
I
hasn't
think
been playing
Gyökeres, no, but what I'm saying is Gyökeres is, he's not really got the goals, but I just feel like it's due. Pedro hasn't really got the goals, and he hasn't had the chances, but I just think it's got to click at some point. But then you say, because of what he's done, then you're looking at captaining Eze, so that's why it's strange to me. I know Eze's midfielder, so he gets more points and stuff.
Eze's been getting chances, right? This is the thing. Like, he's been in areas where he should have scored goals, or been a great save from Pope, or like I'm seeing things on the pitch which suggest that these shots that are not quite going in or being saved, they're going to hit the back of the net. Where if Pedro, he's not getting any shots, so it's a very different situation in my mind, anyway.
That's fair enough. I think for me, because I'm looking at Haaland, nothing makes sense. So it's just like, I'm not looking for a differential, so just no one makes sense. And that's the only reason I've not mentioned no one else really. And it's
I guess at what point do you as an FPL player look at it and think, now's the time to make my move? Because
when you're brave enough.
It's like... So
you've said Eze now, but are you going to do it? This ain't a challenge or nothing like that. But you said Eze now, but are you really going to do it, or are we just all going to have Haaland captain realistically? Well,
He's my
that's
captain.
the reality.
He's my captain as it stands.
Yeah, I know, but that's not what I'm asking. And I'm not asking a question. I'm just making a statement. When we're on our next episode, are we all going to have Haaland captain? And I still think that's a big possibility. Exactly. So like, I think it's when you're brave enough to do these things, that's when you do them. And it's like, that's what it really comes down to. So if I have sometimes I just have an urge to do something, I just do it. So right now I'm thinking there's no way I'm going against Haaland. But if for some reason I think, you know what, I've talked about Gyökeres, I'm going to do it. Then at that point I could live to regret it. But that's how I usually do things. I think it comes down to bravery. When you're chasing points, you've got to try to get differentials in games that you really believe it can happen. But then I don't believe any of those strikers are gonna, even if they outscore Haaland, I don't think it's worth the risk.
Fair enough. I guess that's time for the league table, right? And see where we're standing going into this game week.
Yes, indeed.
And you know, it's that guy who is still top of the league.
Whoa. Let me slow you down there just 1 second. Yes, he is still top, but the gap is closing, to be fair. And when we look at the top three now, I'll big you up again. Gonna win his top. So there's no questions about that. And he's maintained it. But in the top three, there's 2 green arrows. Borussia Teeth. He's trying it, I'm not gonna lie. He's trying it. 81 big points tally this week. So well done, up into second. And your first nightmare. These names are killing me. I like this name too. Another guy that's been in around the top 3 before. Dropped out of it and he's got back in. You know. So 450 and up is a good points tally. So you've got to give them credit where credit is due. So that's a good top 3 there. As you can see of us, we've all got green arrows, which is what we at least want as a minimum. Obviously, 22 is not where I want to be, but 3 green arrows in a row. You know, I hopefully get another one this week and I'll climb higher in the table. Guess you guys can speak for yourself, but it's green arrows all round. So.
It's interesting because I got a green arrow in this league, but my overall ranking went down. You know, I think I was ranked sort of 2 million or something last week, and now I'm like 4 million. So it's interesting that, you know, how in certain leagues I've kind of eked closer, but in reality, you know, I'm still kind of getting just below the average points or where I need to be. But it's all very close. I think, you know, you have a good game week and you can move millions of places. So anyone that's kind of worried about being in the millions right now, I wouldn't worry too much right now. That can change very quickly. One game week will push you millions one way.
One differential captain that clicks can move you right up that table, Guffs. That is you know. But let's see the other half of the table. It's been some mega changes. This one's been crazy because he's not in the bottom 3 anymore, so I'm going to have to say congratulations to Glim, because that glim of hope actually came through for him. He got himself out of the bottom 3, so well done to you. That's a serious green arrow because you've got out of that bottom 3, so again, congratulations. You know, the team name alone, like, you deserve to be at the bottom. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want some devil worshipper, like, I don't know what's going on with that team name, but you put yourself at the bottom of that league with that name, and 24 points. Like, it's 2 peak for him. But talking about 2 peak, still second from bottom, and then cheeky Cherry United still in that bottom 3. You know, going into the international break in the bottom 3 ain't nice, but 24 points. If we had time to look at the team, that would have been interesting, because that's mad. But, you know, it is what it is. If I was you, I'd change your team name though, man. it's not really it's not the lick. And I know you personally or who you are, but yeah, I'm not feeling that name. I'm glad you're at the bottom. But yeah, sorry, I take shit personally. Most of the most amount of points. Big him up, or her, which is a lady, because we don't show names. 95 points.
Big points.
Serious amount of points. Maybe there's no doubt that's a green arrow, right? Maybe that we should make sure that's there, but it's obvious. So, but 95 points is really good. I don't know if anyone's got 100 points yet. I can't recall if anyone's got 100 points yet this season. No one's hit a century to my knowledge.
I don't think so.
So 95 is a very large amount of points. So well done to you. Well, yeah. You know what? What I will say is the league's shaping up. We've all got green arrows. It's still early days. I keep on saying it, and it's not me trying to just play it down. Obviously, I'm very happy. It's 5-1-1. I want to be here after the international break at 6-1-1 if I can. But things can change so easily. And as you said, it just takes a differential captain or the differential players to do extraordinarily well. And you can climb up the league so quickly. And it can all change. I think it's important to promote our stream, which is coming this Sunday. And before I go into the stream, I just want to say, appreciate everyone that is viewing and subscribing and just showing the support that we are receiving so far. It's appreciated, and we're continuing to push and try to improve and keep going in the right direction. As you guys that are regulars can see, I've been hosting and being in the middle for quite a few weeks now. So I'm going to let one of these lads wrap it up and promote the stream while I kick back and just let them finish the show.
Mr. Humble, yeah? All right. Yeah, listen, we've got a stream coming up this weekend, so please do tune in. It's hopefully going to present lots of raw emotion straight after the last game on Sunday. So yeah, we're looking forward to giving you more content this week. As Hots has already said, we're going to still maintain the podcast. So, I know there's lots of people that love watching the podcast. That's not going to change. We're still going to be giving you content, which is going to be more of a analytical feel from that standpoint. But, I think it's important to sort of show what we see behind the scenes when those goals and assists goes in and how we really feel. So that explosive content and emotion straight after the games we'll bring to you. Please do tune in. You have opportunities not only to watch us, but hopefully you can comment and get involved and try to interact with us. We'll be watching out for comments that are coming into the live stream as well. There's an opportunity for us to engage with our audience as well. So it's a two-way thing. So looking forward to taking it to the next level, I guess, as we sort of move through the season. But yeah, not to repeat what Hots has said, thank you very much for anyone that is watching and being involved. And yeah, we'll see you Sunday.
Anything you want to add, Arc? Or...
No.
Let's see in the next episode, or should I say, because the stream is going to be coming first, if we got a grumpy Arc or a happy Arc in the next one.
Truth be told,